Good afternoon. This is the Board of County Commissioners meeting. It is Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. It is 2:02 p.m. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. We are joined by the County Manager, Ramiro Chavez, as well as the Clerk of the Board, Jamie Caldwell, and many staff members joining us via Zoom. I'm calling this meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Menser.
All right. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Would you like to do a land acknowledgement, Vice Chair?
Yes, ma'am. We would also like to start today with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge the Indigenous Salish peoples who have cared for and lived on the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial and who still inhabit the area today, specifically the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the Tuesday, May 10th agenda.
I move to approve the proposed agenda for Tuesday, May 10th, 2022.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Next is the approval of the board meeting minutes from May 3rd.
I will move to approve board meeting minutes from May 3rd, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. Oh, Commissioner
Just,
Menser?
Madam Chair, I'll abstain since I wasn't present at the meeting.
Sorry, Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Abstain.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Today we have two presentations. The first one is a proclamation for National Police Week.
Sheriff
And
Snaza,
Sheriff
welcome.
Snaza would-
I first off want to say thank you for having this moment occur today. It definitely means a lot, not only to the Thurston County Sheriff's Office, but to all the men and women in law enforcement of Thurston County and the state of Washington. And I just want to say that I really appreciate you being able to present this as an acknowledgement of the hard work that the men and women do every day and the sacrifices they make for not only the citizens of our own community, but for the citizens of the state of Washington. So thank you very much for doing that.
Would you like to introduce your guest, Sheriff Snaza?
I'd love to introduce my guests. Are we going to bring them up? And
Yes.
right
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
So I'd like to bring up my undersheriff, Ray Brady, Lieutenant Cameron Simper,
Right there, yeah.
Chief Jeff Dehan, Chief Brad Watkins, and
Underneath.
Captain Dave Johnson.
And I believe we have somebody in Zoom as well.
Oh, and silent, but in view is Chief John Wicks. Thank you, Chief, for being present.
Well, thank you all for being here today. I'll pass it on to our commissioners for comments. Commissioner Edwards, we will start with you.
You know, I would like to say one thing. I mean, I think you all know where I'm at on law enforcement, having served the sheriff's office for many years. But I'd like to take this opportunity not only to thank you folks, but to thank and recognize Andrea Moore, who last week received her honor from the governor of this state up at the Capitol. And I'd just like everyone to know that she almost lost her life in service to our community. And she was just there, but the grace of God did she pull through. She took a severe trauma knife wound and was able to pull through. So I'd like to have everybody remember that every one of these officers face that type of an ordeal or potential ordeal in their term of service. So Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer?
I'd like to thank all of you for being here. I know that law enforcement is a difficult work, even on a good day. And you folks have been navigating a changing social landscape with COVID, a shifting legal landscape, and that's even added to your challenges. So we really appreciate your flexibility in working through those challenges and continuing to provide public safety, which is always if not the paramount priority of our community. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you again for being here today. And I'm sorry I couldn't attend Officer Moore's as she received that award. And I mean, I want to thank you, right? Because bravery is a big part of what you do. You really protect our community, and I have a sweet spot. As many of you know, my mother-in-law used to serve with many of you, and so I know the stories that she used to tell me, and I know some of your stories too, because so they've been passed along. And I know that you all serve with a great heart and trying to put our community really in a safe place. So thank you for really being here today, and we're happy to honor you.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Councilman.
I'd just like to express my deep appreciation and gratitude to all of you and what you represent. The institution, the Sheriff's Office, law enforcement, keep our community safe. And what you do on a daily basis is just remarkable. So thank you very much for all you do.
Ready, Commissioner?
Are we ready for the proclamation? Sure. Okay, perfect.
Okay. Thurston County Proclamation, National Police Week. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas this week has been allocated to honor the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers who lost their lives in the line of duty, and those who continue to serve and protect our communities and safeguard our democracy. And whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Thurston County Sheriff's Office and the police departments of the cities of Olympia, Lacey, Tumwater, Yelm, Rainier, and Tenino. And whereas law enforcement officers are the first line of defense against crime and risk their own lives to save and protect the lives of all people in our communities, and whereas the law enforcement profession has become increasingly more complex, posing greater challenges than ever before. And whereas, according to a report from the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund, as of December 31st, 2021, 458 federal, state, local, military, and tribal law enforcement officers died in the line of duty in 2021. And whereas 301 of those that were lost died of COVID-19, which they contracted while on duty serving their communities. And whereas this serves as a stark reminder of the level of dedication and commitment of our law enforcement officers, and whereas all law enforcement officers who protect and serve our communities deserve our utmost respect and appreciation. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of County Commissioners hereby proclaims May 15 through 21st, 2022 as National Police Week in Thurston County and urges all people to join in this observance. Adopted this 10th day of May, 2022 by the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners.
Absolutely.
I got to put my hat on for this picture. Someone mix this up.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Get out there and make us safe. Get back to work.
Okay, I think I got my microphone on right now. Our next presentation is the introduction to new pretrial service employees, and I see Marianne and Nicole. Would you like to come up front?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you guys for your time. I am Nicole with the Pretrial Services Department, and I'm here this afternoon to introduce two of our department's new employees. Both of these positions are funded by treatment sales tax and will be serving behavioral health populations in our community. So first, this is Zach Wilson. He was hired in March as a Diversion Officer 1. He came to us from Green Hill School as a residential counselor. And he has his master's in public administration from the University of Massachusetts. And we're really happy to have him as a part of our team. With clients and enthusiasm he's brought to our left is Jackie Velasco. She was hired in March as well. I think a lot of you guys have probably seen her around. She is the new County Resource Hub Program Manager. And she has her degree in counseling from St. Martin's University. And she came to the county from Pacific Mountain Workforce. And we really appreciate her skills and the energy that she's brought to our department. I know the Resource Hub has been a huge idea in the county, and we are so excited to have her as a part of our team to bring that to a vision. I really introduce you guys.
Just happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for the opportunity to join the county, and I'm so grateful to get to be part of the work.
Thank you. Commissioner Edwards?
You know, the only thing I might just ask is, let me know if you see any customers from Green Hill that have graduated. Thank you. Thank you to all of you for coming in.
Welcome aboard.
Commissioner Menser?
Welcome aboard. You guys may or may not know my background includes a lot of years as a public defender, so this area is kind of near and dear to my heart. And the Resource Hub, Jackie's already presented several times in meetings I've been at, and I was just really impressed by the very first meeting. When I first saw her, she seemed to be just completely dialed into what we were trying to accomplish, and I felt gave me a good sense of confidence of that we were really on the right track and had hired the right person to lead us. So that's exciting. And Zach, I hope you're not a Patriots fan, but even if you are, welcome aboard to the county. And it's great you got a great team, and we're happy to welcome you aboard.
Yes, welcome aboard. And you have a great leadership team. And so I'm excited about the possibilities that you'll get to do here in the county. County Manager, anything you would like to add?
The pretrial services, and Marianne and I have been working among many others as to how we started with the pretrial services department, such a small but mighty. And as we have increased the staff, the work associated with pretrial services have also increased. And each one of you really is a testament as to how effective and how valuable pretrial services is within our law and justice system. So thank you for what you do. Looking forward to work on the hub, obviously, and with all of you as to how we can enhance pretrial services in the future. Many opportunities ahead.
Thank you. Okay, next we're moving for an opportunity for the public to address the board. Now, there are some guidelines for public comments. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. The general speaking guidelines are as follows. Please introduce yourself, including the address you reside in the county. Please address the board, not the audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones for those in the boardroom. Speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate their speaking time to another person. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outburst of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records, subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 RCW. It's not like I don't read this every week. No remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board on appeal. Thank you so much for your cooperation.
And if I may, one more, Madam Chair, considering we're moving into an election time, no electioneering as part of your public comment. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a sign-up sheet over here. I'll read these names first, and then we'll see if anyone else in the boardroom would like to provide public comment, and then we'll move to the people on Zoom. So first off, I have John Callery. If you'll move.
Good afternoon. My name's John Callery. I'm here with Mariella Cummings from Green Cove Street Northwest over in West Olympia. We're part of the Green Cove Park Community Club. Just like to take a few minutes today to talk to you about our Green Cove Culvert replacement projects at Country Club Road Northwest, where it crosses Green Cove Creek, project 63023. Some background, the culvert that runs underneath Country Club Drive has failed. It's temporarily been repaired by Thurston County Public Works and requires a permanent repair. Our 63-member HOA has accessed our homes via Country Club Drive over the creek for the last 50 years on that route. In April, we conducted a survey to provide feedback to the commissioners reference this project. 50 out of our 63 members responded to the survey that we administered in April of 2022. And the results were clear and consistent in favor of a new culvert that keeps the roadway open and all the utilities that we enjoy accessible. Just a quick survey, a summary of the survey. There are 4 options that the engineers are looking at from the county. The first option would be to replace the existing 3-foot steel culvert with a new 50-foot open bottom culvert. And 50 out of our 50 households that responded in the survey said that would be a great win and was acceptable. The second option was to remove the road embankment and install a vehicular bridge over the creek. Additionally, 42 out of 50 households thought the vehicular bridge would also be a great solution. And keep in mind, all these solutions honor the federal mandate for safe salmon passage. The third option was remove the road embankment and install just a pedestrian bridge, meaning we would lose vehicular access that we've enjoyed the last 50 years via that route. 36 out of the 50 households said that just having a pedestrian bridge would be unacceptable. The last option would be to remove the road embankment completely with no means of crossing the creek, and 41 out of 50 of our households said removing the road embankment with no means of crossing would again be unacceptable. Just a few quick reasons for the preferences for both the culvert and the bridge. It would, of course, provide essential emergency vehicle access and provide homeowner passage in and out of the neighborhood, particularly in the winter weathers. And of course, it would restore salmon migration and again honor that federal safe salmon mandate for the passage. It would also provide emergency vehicle access like ambulances and fire trucks, access quickly to our 63 members. And the other option is Biscay Street, which is a real winding street. It's narrow and it's got a steep drop off where it goes back onto Sunset Boulevard and then eventually around to Green Cove Street to our houses. And the culvert, we believe, would minimize construction and maintenance cost for the other critical utilities that would be impacted, mainly the water, the gas, and the electric. And of course, we also believe the culvert would minimize disruption to hillside stability, which has been impacted the last few years with the rainfall, obviously. And of course, options 3 and 4, where we wouldn't have vehicle access, as we mentioned before, would really limit commercial access and would impede traffic flow on Biscay Street. Just so you know, we've been coordinating with Marcus Storvik, the senior civil engineer Thurston County Public Works. Marcus is great. He regularly sends us emails about every 2 or 3 weeks and let us know the progress that he's making and whether he needs to close the road or not to do studies. And he's going to present you folks their recommendations from the county engineer. I believe it's May 18th at 3 o'clock. Mariella, do you have anything you'd like to add in there? So just thank you very much for the time today and listening to our input.
Thank you.
He's a pro.
Nice.
Thank you. And Mariella, would you like?
I don't need to take any.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Mr. John Pettit?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I live out in East Olympia on Rich Road. Of course, I'm going to be continuing some of my previous discussion, and part of what I'm concerned about is almost what I'd almost call a shadow government within Thurston County. Shadow government that wants to conceal spending millions of dollars, which appearance of not even having an actual contract or an approval of the board, but the county manager feels that the public doesn't have a right to know. I even requested an opportunity to see the invoice related to this expenditure at the atrium. And, well, public records request. You're supposed to have it by law available here with your clerk of the board. I've requested, and supposedly in another little over a week, I'll get a copy of the contract, maybe through public disclosure, if there is an actual contract. But right now, everything's being concealed. We don't want to talk about anything. And I've never found a board resolution to approve a contract. And so there's lots of big concerns here because, you know, people don't like the word corruption, but the word corruption is usually associated with people wanting to keep secrets, not wanting to let the information flow. I don't know if anyone here is aware, you should all be, your commissioners. Maybe you need to inform your county manager. This Thurston County is owned by the citizens. The money that flows through here is the citizens. It's not yours. It's not his. The decisions are to be transparent, have a lot of transparency. There is none under the county manager that you have right now. So I would like to see the invoice that was being generated for today's $1,483,000 plus supposed invoice that was generated by the owner of the atrium. I'd like to see the contract. I'd like to see the resolutions. All these things are the public's property. It doesn't belong to you. And certainly only people of evil intent never want to share information. That's the reason why maybe there's a question. Another question that comes up is this. Now, I've gone through the Olympia portal for all the permitting. There hasn't been a permit taken on this property since after the time the contract for the lease was signed. And are you paying him for something that he permitted for prior to ever even having a contract with the county? Have you decided you're going to pay his bills for him? A multimillionaire who bought a property for $4.5 million. The county is on its way to giving him $6 million for tenant improvements without a contract. Everybody knows, and you're going to be creating a waiver to the policy for procurement in a little bit, but everyone knows you have to have a procurement policy. You have to have competitive bidding. Violation of that is, in fact, a basis for having to forfeit your office. I've already sent you enough notices. At this point, I'm going to revamp my way of talking here about this. I've already done a financial investigation. The $1.4 million, since it can be collected from the people who participate in approving it, the county managers have enough real estate equity in their properties to be able to pay that. You guys have a little bit of interest, equity. But also, I almost want you to approve it. It's a self-destructive method for those that want to give away county money should be removed from office. I can't even do that. You're doing it to yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Terry Lip Ballard.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name's Terry Ballard, and I live in Tanglewild. I am a 35-year veteran and retired in 2012. Did I make a mistake by retiring here? That's what I'm trying to figure out. A couple RCWs that you can look up, which is RCW 9A.72.040, that's false swearing. RCW 9A.72.060 is a retraction of false swearing. Here's the one that really got me. RCW 9A.72.080. Statement of what one does not know to be true. Really, got a lawyer on hand, okay? He's practiced law. He can interpret law, I'm sure. He can follow law, I'm sure, but not to be true. That's a gross misdemeanor, I'm sorry. And then, of course, there's also the one that our state AG used, which was 42.20.040, which is false reporting. That's also a gross misdemeanor. Okay, going on to veterans. Meeting hall may be furnished to the veterans organization for free. For free. I wonder why we're not doing that. Okay, and that's to include lights, water, all the utilities, to include that. That's in RCW 73.04.070. Why aren't we giving the Veterans Relief Fund to a veteran organization? Okay, they can do everything. They can do pension. They can do everything that you can ever imagine. Why? And you have the American Legion right here. You got the state office right here in Thurston County. There's another one. Meeting place rental may be paid out of the county fund. RCW 73.04.080. Wow. With the $1.4 million carryover from last year for this year, I would think we'd be paying for that, but you have a Mark Moffett in there that needs more money. Why do you need more money? Like the road fund, like the mental health fund. The road fund, mental health fund, and the veterans fund was used to justify that building that Mr. Pettit was talking about. Why are you using funds and trying to justify something? Okay? You have a court that can move down to family court. That's our property. You can move them down there. Why are we renting new buildings? Okay? You can move that down there and it'd be a hell of a lot better parking, and you can move your people over there in the in there, but that's okay. Okay. Moving on to environmental. 12 million going into the Bud Inlet every day of contaminated effluent. And you can't forget about the rainwater being in abundance for the illicit stormwater and sewage combinations going into that lot plant that, when in abundance, they dump it into Bud Inlet. That's why we have shellfish closures. That's why fish die. That's why a whale died. Save the whales. The governor wanted to save the whales. The septic fee in Tanglewild, okay? I want to know where that money's being spent. That's a fee. It should be spent specifically on the people in Tanglewild, not a cash cow, as other funds are being used. This is a fee. And by the way, Olympia, last thing, Olympia puts that onto the renters, onto the homeowners that actually stay there.
Please wrap it up, sir.
So why are you paying rental and fees that you guys do in taxes? That's irate. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Bill Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and fellow commissioners. Can you hear me okay? I'm a little nervous. It's my first time actually coming in to kind of speak out. I live in the West Olympia area.
For the record, sir, can you state your name?
Yes, I'm sorry. It's William Dankiw, D-A-N-K-I-W. I go by Bill. I live in the West Olympia area, in the Biscay area, actually. And I wanted to kind of express and try to be the voice, not only for myself, but other tenants that live here in Thurston County. I happen to be one of those tenants that have lived at the property in Biscay for over almost 10 years now. And I've rented that property over there, been living there for quite a while, and ownership has changed. But during the COVID, there was a lot of us, even myself, that had lost their job or lost a certain amount of income. So we turned to the help that the county provided through the Washington State Department of Commerce for the rental assistance program. So I'm going to try to do this with being positive to all of you, as well as give you some feedback. That's what I want to do today. I applied for help because, one, I think it's important that tenants and landlords get together and try to work this out along with the county. And I know the landlords, this is an investment for them. Rental properties are an investment. Tenants there, this is their home. This is their livelihood. And when the need arises for help, we reach out for that as a tenant because we want to stay current in our rent. We want to be able to make sure that we have a good relationship with our landlords and take pride in where we live. This is not only for me, but I know a neighbor of mine, her name is Linda Watt. She's 78 years old. She was going to be here today, but she wasn't feeling too well, so I told her I would speak on her behalf as well. She's in worse shape than me. I got to say, I can hold out, and I've taken out some loans to make sure I stay current on my rent. But because of that, your rental assistance reimbursement will not refund me that. So I still have to owe that along with paying my current rent. Linda Watts applied for the assistance back at the end of December. And, you know, I kind of help her. She doesn't know how to use a computer. She's an elderly woman. And she doesn't like me to use the word elderly, so I'm going to ask you all to not put that in there. But, you know, I try to help her with things to at least get her through. And by you guys closing out the contract with Community Action Council for whatever the issue is in regards to possible fraud, it really hurt a lot of us. It really did. And I understand that the county and the workers there have all said, hey, we understand, and that, you know, we're with you there. But, you know, as a tenant, we can wait, but the landlords don't always want to wait. And then they issue a notice to evict. Myself personally, because I took out those loans to avoid that, I didn't get that. Linda Watt, at 78 years old, doesn't have a lot of family. She got a notice to terminate her lease and to be evicted. The only option, thank goodness for the county, or the state, passing a change in the law on RCW 5918 regarding going through dispute resolution, that she would be out and on the streets. She only gets so anyway, I do have some documents. I know that you guys, I know time's run out there, but I did submit a copy of some emails I had with Elisa. I believe you guys have them. She is the one that handles that rental reimbursement. And I ask you to take a look at that. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call.
So sir, you have been in contact with Lisa's partner?
Yes, I have been in contact with Lisa.
Okay.
Life Stories, I'm really disappointed. Just one more thing, and I know that you have others, is that Life Stories being a for-profit, I'm a little concerned about that. And then also the Community Action Council being a nonprofit, and they're here locally, so it's keeping those jobs here too. So I don't know if you guys considered that. I'm not saying that they may still have the staff there, but we need to keep in mind that we want to, when we're doing programs like this to help the landlords and the tenants, also help keep the jobs here too. And when you transfer it over to a place in Seattle that is a for-profit, it's not benefiting here in the county.
Thank you, sir.
Okay? Thank you for the extra time. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Next, I have Joe Hanna.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. Today I'm here again in my role as your Ag Advisory Chair. First thing I want to do today is invite you to our meeting next Thursday night at 7 p.m. It's available on Zoom, and I will schedule, today is the date to put out the agenda, but I will be scheduling you for 30 minutes. Next, I'd like to talk about the makeup of the committee, because during your planning meeting this morning, Commissioner Mintzer brought that up, and actually brought it up about a month ago. I know you said a couple weeks ago. It was a month ago because we covered it our last meeting as well. I have approached the committee. Last month, I approached the committee because I heard you say that about putting together some bios. The financial side of it was a little new information that you commented on this morning, but we can talk about that for sure. You commented that you had reached out to Stephen Bramwell, and I'm not trying to throw Stephen under the bus, because Stephen has a very difficult job in his role as the WSU Extension Agent, and he does a wonderful job in that role. But Stephen is not the committee. Stephen is one non-officio member on the committee. He's not our liaison with you, as far as we've been ever told. So what Stephen's role actually is, maybe we need a better definition from you guys. It is set on the original declaration forming our committee, what that role is, but maybe you have envisioned a different role, and I'm more than happy to hear from you and have a new role if that's what you're looking for. The makeup of the committee, I heard Commissioner Mejia comment in the past about how great Pierce County's Ag Advisory Committee, and it is an Ag Advisory Committee. I would note that I did do the research and looked at their committee. They have 7 vegetable producers on that committee. So the fact that we have a number of livestock producers, protein producers on our committee is not an unusual balance. The other thing that they have there, and granted, I know it's a difficult situation with only 3 of you, is one of the permanent positions on that committee is one of the commissioners. Another is their ag liaison person, which I know you guys have funded, but I don't know that it's been hired yet. Hopefully that can happen this year. Finally, I'd like to talk about the USDA facility that originally was an idea of the Ag Advisory Committee, I think. I won't take sole credit for the committee that it was only our idea. That idea has been bouncing around for a number of years. But we've been discussing it for a number of years also. At this point, it seems that we have been shut out of any discussion related to that. We're not getting invitations to the numerous meetings with U.S. Representative Strickland, meetings that Stephen's going to, meetings that our other ex officio member is going to, although a number of us have asked for those invitations. The question I've asked to both Stephen and to the other ex officio member is, who is the Thurston County producer attending those meetings? And the answer has been there isn't any. I guess I'd ask the question on a personal level of why. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Next, we have.
Anybody else in the room like to provide testimony?
One more.
One more,
Patrick
sorry.
Jansen.
My apologies.
Last second anyway, so. My name is Patrick Jansen. I represent small food vendors in Olympia, myself obviously included, Steamboat Island area. Thinking at this point, some of you have already heard about the situation I have going on and the desired changes with the health department, food specifically. We are running, myself and others are running small pop-up or street vending operations that look similar to catering, but they operate like a food truck. Unfortunately, there's no permit that really melds those two worlds together. Currently, you're either a private caterer, a public caterer, a food truck, or a restaurant. The only provision that is somewhat similar would be a multi-use permit, which allows you to vend at a farmer's market. So you can do what I do, but it's at a farmer's market. So the model does exist within the permits. It just doesn't exist at other locations outside of farmers markets. Easy fix might be to add a provision there. Another way to go about it might be changing it completely so that there's actual permissibility in this area. Quickly, I've looked at the laws, both state and Thurston County, and I don't see anywhere that has a specific statement about not being able to operate this way or being able to operate this way. Just like all of it, it seems like it's left to interpretation, which is where we're having a sticking point right now with the county. I've operated for a couple of years like this in a gray area and have been asked to shut down. Currently, the county is letting me operate on a very temporary basis, but that window might be closing in another week or so. This is for me personally. Everyone else who's operating are being kind of, I think, allowed, which is good. This all needs to change. I think the board already knows that and is working on it, or the council. Sorry, first time addressing y'all. That's basically more or less what I have to say. You know, I could get into details on how changes could occur or like what logical ways to go about it, but I don't know if that's for this space necessarily. Yeah, but that's it for my time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Jensen, could I ask Matt, could I ask him a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Please.
You could probably go into great detail and I can give you my email and stuff, but if you could just at a high level, what would be the parameters that are most restrictive that you would, in your opinion, would help fix the problem?
Okay, so there's no problems with food safety at all. Commissary agreements, keeping things at temperature. There's literally like has nothing to do with that. It's just that there isn't a permit that details what I do specifically, other than the farmer's market. So I mean, at the highest level, just make it so you can look like a caterer and sell like a food truck. That's the main thing right now, because the only answers I've gotten is like, you don't have walls and a fan. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm outside and I'm running under a certain amount of time. Other requirements might be you need mechanical refrigeration and plumbed triple sink for doing dishes. But we have commissaries. We take all of our materials back and clean at the end of the night, if that makes sense. And we also operate under a certain amount of hours per day. So as far as safety is concerned and some of their needs might be you can only run for 8 hours. If you're going to go over 8 hours or 4 hours, you're going to need to clean, during that time frame. I'm like, I totally agree, but we run for less, and we can just do like a red bin where all of our dirty dishes go. We also keep our menus limited so we don't generate a lot of materials to take and bring back. So, that would be some of the things, like the reasoning behind why they won't let it happen, and easy and logical solutions as to how it could. Some other concerns would be, how would we find you if you're out vending? Just like we would report for a multi-use permit or a temporary use permit, we have to tell them where we're going to be. So just like we have to clear a menu, we tell them our menu, and then we stick to it. So we could easily give them a schedule for the year. We could update it quarterly, monthly, whenever is convenient. That's kind of it. Other restaurants have been inquiring about this, as well as actual catering operations. They all want to get in on it because we serve a small niche, basically, of like tasting rooms, tap rooms, places to drink, go hang out where there isn't food already, nor is it busy enough to support a food truck full time. Food trucks won't stay at these places if they can't make a living, and the food trucks have a high overhead. We have a very low overhead, so we can actually service breweries or tap rooms on busy days when they most need service. So it's a model that does work. It's also a low cost entry point for people who are looking to start a small business and just, add to the tax base.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And Patrick's been one of the ones who has been educating me a lot on this matter. So thank you, Patrick, for your cooperation in all of this. Okay, with that, is there anyone else in the boardroom that would like to provide testimony that I didn't call? No, that's okay. Is there anyone on Zoom? County Manager.
Yeah, I believe Mrs. Cronenberg, you'd like to provide testimony?
Yes, thank you.
Please go ahead. You have 4 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, this is Esther Cronenberg from the Green Cove Watershed. Last week, I spoke about the huge increase in chemicals being used in our lakes, according to the county's own IPM report. from less than 200 pounds in 2016 to more than 3,500 pounds in 2020. The use of alum has also dramatically increased. I remind you, aluminum was recently listed as a pollutant whose safety data hasn't been updated by the EPA in decades. In other words, there's a huge gap in scientific knowledge about the impacts of the use of these thousands of chemicals being used in our environment and the public health. But all you have to do is look at the 95% decrease in shorebirds in South Puget Sound in the past 20 years to realize you don't need a scientist to know we're killing untold numbers of living organisms with no long-term plan to how to stop it, what its effects on the public health are, and how to protect humans from the inevitable health consequences of poisons in the environment. As it is, it's dangerous to even touch the water in East Bay because of all the dioxins left there, magnitudes worse than Love Canal. The Department of Ecology has been found in violation of the Clean Water Act by federal Judge Peckman in a recent ruling. So we can't not rely on the issuance of Department of Ecology MPDS permits. While I was thinking about how 3 landowners with boats have been allowed to determine what poisons are put into Black Lake without any county oversight, I began to wonder how much or even if the county is monitoring its water resources at all. WAC 173591 requires local government to protect the strategic groundwater reservation for the state capital. What is the county doing to protect our drinking water? Is there any monitoring? How much of a budget does the Department of Health have to keep records, to monitor, and to take actions to protect this most precious resource? Do you know? Have you asked any of your staff what's being done to monitor our water and to protect it? Does the Department of Health have a directive from the commissioners to monitor our groundwater to protect the public health? Does it have a budget to do that? Have there been any SEPA determinations done to see if the county is complying with the Clean Water Act law? Have the commissioners asked anyone on staff what's being done? There has been a huge jump in development in this county. Have the commissioners asked CPED staff if all this new development is following SEPA and other environmental laws? Do we have the water to support this new development? And who is keeping track? I know you've been busy with COVID, but water quality is also a long-term public health issue. I urge you to fund fully the Department of Health so that it can at least keep track of water quality as our county continues to grow. And I urge you to find out if the county is actually fulfilling its legal obligations under WAC 173591. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Jane Upland. Would you like to provide testimony this afternoon, ma'am? No.
Okay. So with that, we'll move on to County Manager's update.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Following up on the public testimony related to the Green Cove this afternoon, as stated, yes, there is a briefing on May 18th at 3 in the afternoon. The boardroom will be held in this room. It will be open for in-person attendance if you like. We also will be having a live stream meeting. At that time, Public Works will bring all the many different options that was part of your survey. And at that point, we'll present a preferred alternative for the board to consider. And the development alternative is always a balance in terms of the cost, in terms of the value to the environment, as well as to the impacts to the citizens. So stay tuned to that conversation, and soon after that, then it will be next steps as to what will be the preferred alternative. Also, I'd like to follow up to a public testimony in the last week and this week related to 3000 Pacific, mainly from Mr. Pettit. In the comments that he has provided today, as well as many other related comments received in the Commissioner's Office alleging wrongdoing and the county is operating outside of the context of the law. All such allegations have been discussed in many executive sessions. As a result, and under the advisement of the elected prosecutor, through his deputy prosecuting attorneys, it has then determined the county is operating within the context of the law. Also like to follow up with Mr. Ballard's comment today. There is no money associated with the road fund, the Veterans Fund, or the mental disability fund that is using for the 3000 Pacific. The funding source for the tenant improvements, the real estate excise tax one. And also the follow-up with Mrs. Cronenberg comment last week related to all that information she has provided leading to the public hearing on the Black Lake Special Use District. All that documentation is part of the record. And the board will be considered that information as well as all the public testimony you receive on that briefing next Thursday. We have a schedule of follow-up with you, I believe, let me check the date. Yeah, it's on Thursday, May 19th, 9 in the morning, and it will be here in room 280, open to the public, and we'll also be live streaming that conversation.
County Manager.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Just, it might be useful to connect Ms. Cronenberg to Art Starry. She had a slew of questions related to what the county does regarding water quality monitoring, and it'd be great to have those questions answered directly by the Division Director of Environmental Health.
Yeah, that would be great. And I believe Mr. Cronenberg does have that information for Art Starry. If you don't, I'll be more than happy to provide that. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Edwards?
I just wonder if possibly the county manager couldn't address Mr. Danquin's concern and maybe refer him to watch, like we had a community meeting. I don't have all those particulars, but it would answer some of those questions maybe that he had about the Community Action Council.
Yes, the Community Action Council, there has been a lot of discussions on that. And many of those have been conducted in an executive session, the actions that the board took related to the contract itself. And you're right, there was a concern about the impacts to you and some of the residents who were accounting for that assistance. Life Stories is an avenue as to how we can continue to provide the services. And I respect your perspective on that. But it's an attempt to move forward and continue to provide services to those in need in our community. A lot of information. We have many news reports in the media about this. I don't want to get into the level of detail, and I'm glad Lisa Sparman has your information. I will ask her to follow up with you and see how we can continue to help you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to consent items A through J.
Madam Chair, I move to approve consent items 3A through 3J.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Consent items pass. Next, moving on to department items. Item 4A from the Auditor's Office, approval of the voucher list.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under normal circumstances, this item is in your consent agenda. And at the request, Commissioner Edwards, when I see an item that is related to payments on the 3000 Pacific, I would like to bring this as a department item for you to exercise your own vote. So in this particular item, there is a weekly voucher of $6,309,876.32. That will be for the week of April 25th, 2022. Within the voucher list on page 37, there is a payment related to the 3000 Pacific atrium of $1,483,762.45, and that is related to the tenant improvements.
Thank you. Any questions?
During discussion, ma'am.
Okay.
I move to approve the voucher list for the week of April 25th, 2022 for a combined amount of $6,309,876.32.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir.
This would be to the county manager, I guess. Do we have invoices on the funding that's to be expended on the atrium?
To this particular item?
Yes.
Yes.
And do we have a contract signed and authorized by this board to cover those payments?
The board authorized the lease payment, which includes the lease contract, which includes the tenant improvements with it.
So then there was no bidding as far as for an expenditure of county funds to do those repairs or upgrades?
The tenant improvements are included on the lease contract.
And do we have that contract, or is it part of the lease itself?
Yes, it's part of the lease, and the contract of the lease is on our webpage and is available to the public.
Okay, and the invoice, I heard an interaction with Mr. Pettit this morning that he would have to get a public records request, I think it was, to see the invoice material. And I just wonder if that invoice is available to me as a commissioner to see.
That invoice is available to you at any time, Commissioner,
Anytime.
if you ask. Yes.
Okay. Is there any reason that I could not share that invoice?
No, absolutely not. Nope. That's public record. And the public record request is because of the amount of paperwork and information related to the item. And for instance, in today's item, the $1.4 million, the invoice incurs the design cost, the permits cost, as well as some initial construction costs. And each of those items have a backup information related to every single payment. So I will be more than happy to provide any type of backup information to you, Commissioner, anytime that you request that of me.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. With that, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Mentzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Next, item 5A from District Court is the professional services contract for the Substance Abuse Monitoring Program. And Frankie Peters, the Court Executive Officer, is here.
Yes, thank you so much, Commissioner, and good afternoon to the board. Thank you for having me today. The Board of County Commissioners has approved funding for the 2022-2023 biennium to support the implementation of a substance abuse monitoring program for District Court in the amount of $500,000. The program was agreed to be funded through the American Rescue Plan Act, supporting the need to limit appearances at the courthouse complex and decrease jail populations that are due to new misdemeanor charges filed and non-compliance of court-ordered conditions being as a result of a person's inability to pay. This program funds urinalysis testing and blood alcohol monitoring device installation and reporting, with services to be provided provided and supported by a third-party vendor. This contract will be through our current biennium with the option for one-year extensions to the contract if future approval and funding is provided. On February 22nd, 2022, the board approved the posting of the request for proposal for this program. This RFP was open for the competitive bidding process from February 23rd to April 1st, 2022. District Court received 3 vendor proposals in response to the RFP. The evaluation and scoring process took place on April 12th, 2022. All vendors were scored on their qualifications and experience, cost proposal, technical approach, and response to the business requirements set forth in the contract. Following a thorough review and scoring of the proposal and materials provided, the vendor with the highest score was Friendship Diversion Services. This review process was competitive, with Friendship Diversion exceeding in the criteria of cost proposal and qualifications and experience. This is provided through an established facility locally located with a project manager and key staff currently employed and trained with the capacity to meet the needs of District Court, as well as a comprehensive project plan to address the needs of the program. Friendship Diversion Services is a nonprofit organization located near the county courthouse on Evergreen Park Drive. Friendship is an experienced organization providing monitoring and diversion services for over 43 years. In addition, Friendship has provided comprehensive alcohol monitoring technology through their alcohol monitoring program for over 14 years and works with the well-established lab Cordant Health Solutions for drug and alcohol testing. Friendship Diversion Services has shown successful monitoring through these court-ordered conditions in a dozen jurisdictions across Washington state. The reporting systems utilized by Friendship are robust and efficient, providing for all the necessary reporting requirements of the substance abuse monitoring program for district court. Contract discussions were conducted with Friendship Diversion on April 20th, 2022. The proposed contract agreed upon by district court and Friendship Diversion was provided and has been reviewed and approved as to form by Thurston County Risk Management and the Thurston County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. We are very excited for this opportunity to further serve those involved in the justice system in this new and progressive way, and for the important and meaningful services that we provide to our communities as a whole. District Court is pleased to request that the board move to approve the professional services contract with Friendship Diversion Services for the District Court Substance Abuse Monitoring Program in the amount of $500,000, and to authorize the Court Executive Officer of District Court to execute the contract and any amendments not to exceed 10%. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, I'd have one question. I'm not sure if it's to Mr. Peters or to the county manager. What fund is that $500,000 coming out of, sir?
The American Rescue Plan.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Menzer?
I have a comment, more than a question. Frankie kept it very high level and professional, but I'm going to get a little more specific. This is the utilization of a technological tool to provide an alternative to incarceration while keeping the community safe. Without this tool, if the only way a judge could say the community could be safe is if a person was not consuming alcohol, they'd have to keep them in jail because there'd be no way to know if they were not consuming alcohol. But this tool is a way to release somebody, save the cost and all the other collateral effects of incarceration, while at the same time keeping the community safe because we can monitor 24/7 alcohol consumption. This tool has been around for a number of years, but when I was a public defender, we who represented indigent clients, it's expensive, well, somewhat expensive. And for the most indigent folks, they couldn't access it. And that made us not feel very good as public defenders because our clients didn't have access to this, whereas private paying or more affluent clients could. And that didn't seem to be fair. So in my understanding, this is the first time that we're going to be making a tool like this available to indigent clients so that there's a level playing field. And we've been told by crunching some numbers that this is going to save us at a minimum, at the low end, conservative estimate, over $300,000, because we will be able to have people in the community on this scram bracelet, which might be expensive for them, but compared to the price of incarceration for the county is much cheaper. So I'm excited to see how this works. And we had all this discussion last fall when we budgeted for it, but now we're finally getting to see it launch. So this is a big, exciting program for me.
Commissioner Edwards?
And I might add as a follow-up to Commissioner Menzer, those individuals that would normally be incarcerated can now be out as productive citizens in our community, working and paying their way and spending time with their families and such. So it's a benefit financially and for our society.
Thank you.
One of the things that Commissioner Menzer and I strongly agree on.
Absolutely.
I know this has been a goal for district court for a very long time, and so I am glad that we have the possibility of this funds to be able to really do this pilot project and see. And I know there's going to be robust data that's going to come from it, and I'm excited to really see it once the program starts going. So with that, I am ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the professional services contract with Friendship Diversion Services, the Substance Abuse Monitoring Program in the amount of $500,000, and authorize the Court Executive Office of District Court to execute the contract and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Frankie.
Thank you so much, Commissioners.
Next is Public Health and Social Services, item 6A, amending hoteling contracts for people experiencing homelessness. And Tom Webster, Senior Program Manager, is here.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tom Webster with Public Health and Social Services. So I'm here to ask for your approval to amend 2 contracts that we have with Family Support Center of South Sound and Olympia Mutual Aid Partners for a total increased value of $100,000. These are funds in 2021, the Washington State Legislature passed House Bill 1277, which was a new $100 document recording fee. As part of this revenue, the Department of Commerce issued a contract to the county for $1,633,401 with specific purposes to use those funds for rapid rehousing activities and hotel leasing for homeless individuals. In January of 2022, the Board of County Commissioners approved issuance of 6 contracts to local nonprofit agencies for those funds. Subsequently, the board provided direction to the county manager not to proceed with executing the contract for $100,000 with Community Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston counties. With that, we went back to the Regional Housing Council to seek a recommendation on how to reallocate that $100,000. And the Regional Housing Council is making a recommendation to evenly split the allocation between Family Support Center of South Sound and Olympia Mutual Aid Partners, and increasing each of their awards by $50,000. Both of those organizations are operating a hotel program for homeless individuals. So this will result in an increase for Family Support Center from an original award of $400,000 to an amended award of $450,000. And for Olympia Mutual Aid Partners, from an original award of $616,189 to $666,189. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, but only because we've went over this several times in the very recent past.
Commissioner Metzer, questions?
This is a kind of it's a little bit complex with the funding streams and the reallocation. If it's clear as mud to you, then I would encourage you to check the morning's meeting, because we had a little bit more Q&A from the commissioners. I think we got it straight finally, but I do understand what's going on. Hopefully the public can track it.
Thank you. I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve contract amendments between Thurston County and Family Support Center of South Sound and Olympia Mutual Aid Partners for a total increased value of $100,000 for hotel leasing and rapid rehousing activities, and authorize the county manager to sign the contracts and any amendments that do not change the amount by more than 10%.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Mentzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. With that, thank you, Tom. With that, we'll go on to our standing items. Item 7A, Commissioners will report on board work sessions and assigned committee meetings, providing updates and actions taken, as well as upcoming issues. Commissioner Edwards, we'll start with you.
Last week, I attended the Operation Recruit Enlistment dinner over at St. Martin's, attended by about 35 young people that are going in the military. Quite interesting to see that take place, and I believe they were sworn in by the I Corps commander, a 3-star general. That never happened to me when I got drafted in the Army about 57 years ago. I think I got sworn in by a boot. Okay, enough of that. Anyway, and the Medal of Honor ceremony for former Deputy Andrea Moore, and I say former because unfortunately she went over to the city of Lacey, and I feel that is a big loss to our community. But such is the reality of trying to balance the budget and retain people and recruit people. So, and I went up to Fort Lewis to work with the host folks about the Army compatible use buffer, which has to do with creating a buffer around that installment, that military installment, to allow for mitigation issues, endangered species issues, and better living quality for citizens that live in the particular area. And what that really is all about is many organizations are involved to see if they can't come up with adequate funding either to make outright purchases or to buy development rights. Similar to what the county did some years back down in the valley there at the Nisqually River to maintain that into open space and productive farmland. And then many constituent issues. A big piece of that is still this virus.
Thank you.
That's it for my report.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Menzer?
Thank you. I was at a conference last meeting, so I got 2 weeks worth of stuff to report above activities above and beyond my normal committee assignments. Attended the Justice Not Jails Mental Health Forum. Attended interviews for Public Health and Social Services Director. Attended a retirement dinner for Ann Shipley from the Thurston County Fair Board. Attended multiple meetings with regarding Community Action Council relationship with the county. Attended meeting with Olympia School District board members regarding district expansion issues. Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority Executive Committee meeting, emergency meeting regarding a project that's kind of going south on Satsop River, and we trying to brainstorm of how to access federal infrastructure money and hopefully get that project back on track. Attended the Thurston County Action Team's EV car show at Olympia High School. Last week's meeting, I was at the Life Without Salmon Human Dimensions Pathways Conference in Bremerton, which was co-sponsored by Colorado State University and the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. And that relates to my service on representing South Sound on the Salmon Recovery Council. Attended the South Sound Reading Foundation breakfast. Attended our Racial Equity Lunch and Learn program. Attended Law and Justice Council meetings with Law and Justice Council members from the cities about ways to enhance the activities and create a better work plan for the Law and Justice Council. Attended the Innovative Justice meeting and attended, had a meeting, kind of a prep meeting for this week's lot meeting. And I know there's always public interest and testimony about the lot discharge into Bud Inlet. I wanted to just report that LOT has been working on a set of what we call biological process improvements. It's essentially modernizing some of the ways, the processes by which the water is treated. The nitrogen standard for drinking water for the state is 10 milligrams per liter. Bud Inlet's permit is 3 because of the impairments in Bud Inlet. Their limit is 3 for LOT at its discharge level. So that's what we have to shoot for. Through this biological and process improvement, our engineers thought we could maybe hit 2. Well, we're hitting 1.07. So we're basically operating at about a third of the level of what was within the parameters of our permit. So it's pretty unprecedented and exciting because it basically what that does is creates additional capacity for additional growth in this community. Wastewater treatment capacity is extremely expensive to create. So the more we can hone and refine our processes to create additional capacity just lowers the cost to the community without further endangering water quality. So it's good news, early reports on our biological process improvement project. That's my report.
Thank you. For me, I attended the Regional Housing Council Funding Work Group yesterday. On Friday, I was at the Regional Housing Council retreat, and that is starting off very well. I also on Friday went to the canvassing board where they approved the special election that just went through. I attended the Readers Are Leaders event, as well as the SWAC meeting, which is the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. I did an interview with Ken Balsley, and I also went to the recruitment dinner with Commissioner Edwards, where we served dinner afterwards, and he went ahead and was a taste tester, made sure that all the food was safe, and And I also, I've been meeting with a lot of constituents on different issues. One of them, which is something that Commissioner Metzer has been talking a while about, was I met with Friends of Trees, which they gave me a lot of information about legacy forests and how they play vitally here in Thurston County, and they have asked me to write a letter in support of that. So I'll be working on that and informing myself more on it. But I know since Commissioner Metzer has been working on this much longer than I have and has had countless meetings on this, definitely would like to discuss this at a commissioner's check-in and get your input on it, just because this is something that I know you've been working on for countless weeks.
Yep.
Other than that, that is all I have to report for members of the public. I always post my schedule on my Facebook page if you would like to see what I'm up to during the week. With that, I will move on to item 7B. The county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of May 10th, 2022.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Starting this afternoon at 3:30, you have your Board of Health. Nothing in the remainder of your week in terms of actually board briefings or meetings, but you are being invited to participate in the Washington State Association of Counties Board of Directors regular meeting and Legislative Steering Committee, which is going to be held as a conference at the Marriott Tacoma downtown, 1538 Commerce Street, Tacoma, Washington. Beginning tomorrow, I believe, 1 in the afternoon is the Timber County's caucus meeting. It's going to be at the same location, and there is several meetings associated with this conference.
Can you repeat, what is this conference?
This is the Washington State Association Board of Directors regular meeting and Legislative Steering Committee planning meeting.
And why is that not on my calendar, I wonder? Are you covering that for me?
Well, I got asked to cover it for you.
For what day?
That's so you serve on the Board of Directors, and that's on, I believe it is tomorrow night. Yes, it's tomorrow night, and then,
yeah. Okay.
And then Thursday I have.
You have your legislative steering.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and yeah, there's, since two commissioners will be coming in and out. Yeah.
And I'll be at law.
Yep. And on Saturday, you have been invited to participate on the annual South Sound opening day of the Olympia Yacht Club from 8 to 4 in the 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. That is going to be located at the Olympia Yacht Club main station at 201 Simon Street, Northwest Olympia. Moving on to next week, Monday, May 16th, you have your standing meeting at noon on the Washington State Association of Counties Virtual Assembly. And on Tuesday, May 17, you'll convene back here in this room where you have your regular agenda setting, followed by the regular Board of County Commissioners in the afternoon. Thank you.
Saturday is Prairie Appreciation Day at Glacier Heritage Preserve, and it hasn't happened in a couple of years, and it's really cool. They only open it up once per year. You can take a self-guided walk through Thurston County's Glacial Heritage Preserve to learn about Thurston County's unique prairie habitats.
And where's that at?
That's at the Violet Prairie Seed Farm, the Glacier Heritage Preserve, near Lima Mounds, and it's 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I think Thurston County staff is on hand to answer questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Edwards?
I just thought maybe I'd take this opportunity to point out to the viewing public out there that it might look like we don't communicate very good. That's because we don't. There's actually a law against it, and that's the Open Public Meetings Act. So when it becomes obvious that we haven't had a discussion prior to getting into this meeting, it's because we haven't had a discussion prior to getting in this meeting on any of these topics. I mean, I can say, how'd the kid do in a basketball game? But that's it. Can't talk about work. And it becomes quite complicated for us to function efficiently as a board without being able to communicate, other than if it's on an agenda and posted 24 hours ahead of time. So I like to point that out because sometime in the near future, we may have an opportunity to move to 5 county commissioners as our threshold moves over 300,000. And when that happens, it will make us more efficient because I could actually say to one of my county commissioners outside of this meeting, hey, what did you think about Bill's proposal or, whatever. We can't do that now. And so we have to wait. We can't even write a letter to each other because that's a communication. So we have to wait. There's a lot of roadblocks in place. And I just, whenever I sense doubt in the community as to why maybe we're not keyed in quite as well as we should be, I like to point it out because there's a reason for it. So we've taken an unusual step as a board to unanimously support a future move if it becomes possible.
Together with the Port of Olympia.
With the Port of Olympia, that's right. To try and get more efficiency into government. The county manager's got something.
Maybe just a follow-up to that comment, Commissioner. And in fact, I have been invited to participate on the Port of Olympia Commission meeting on Monday to discuss this. So that will begin the process to how we can coordinate with the Port of Olympia.
Great. Thank you.
Then we can argue in the hall, not just in the boardroom. That'll be fun.
Cordially, I might.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. With that, thank you, everyone. We are adjourned. We'll be picking up at 3:30 with the Board of Health.
7 minutes away, folks.
All right.
6 minutes.